Well, hello. I am Stacy Harmon, and welcome to my new GTD book club. I am excited to have you guys here, and just to confirm that I've got a new piece of software kind of running all of this. So could you just let me know if you're here? I do see there's some people live already, so thank you for joining live. Let me know in the comments that you can hear me, you can see me, everything sounds good, so that I know that I'm not speaking and you're just seeing my lips move. That would be really, really helpful. And hi, Lee, you're here. Perfect. And I assume that means you can hear me. So got it. All right. For those of you that don't know me, hi, Dawn. I love seeing familiar faces on the call. Thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be a lot of fun. I just even in reviewing the book chapter in preparation for today. Hi, Barry. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Okay, we got it. I'm so happy you all are here. So, okay. I'm going to just give a little background information for those of you that don't know me. My name is Stacy Harmon. I'm principal of Harmon Enterprises. I'm an Evernote certified consultant. I'm also a GTD practitioner. I don't work for David Allen's company. I'm just an avid fan who has combined the GTD philosophy with an Evernote deployment, and it changed my world and really delivered on the promise that David says of stress-free productivity and mind like water. And I get something out of the book every single time I read it, which I try to do annually. I'm not always great at it. And I thought, well, shoot, let me just get the community together who is a fan of Evernote and a fan of GTD, and let's have a little book club about it. Let's talk about why Evernote is so useful as a tool for GTD, because as I read the book, it's just, in fact, this was my moment back in even 2012 when I first read the book. I was sitting there reading the book and I said, oh my gosh, this is perfect for Evernote. Like, I was reading it and I'm just highlighting all the reasons why Evernote is so fantastic for GTD. So I want to share those things with you today. And then whether or not you're a customer of mine, I hope you'll get good value out of this and some ideas. And at least, it can't hurt to review the concepts of what David really shares in his book. I'm going to be using the 2015 edition of Getting Things Done. He rewrote it for 2015, and I'll try to reference page numbers. And if you have comments as we go along, feel free to reference a page number from this book as well. I also, a couple of other things. We're going to cover chapter 1 today, but I do have my GTD system documented, and it's a product that I sell on my website. It's called EverDone, and it walks you through exactly how to structure your notebooks, your notes, your stacks, and actually work all of the systems that I do on a daily basis. And we have a really active Facebook community of GTD practitioners. So that's where all the structural information about my particular deployment of GTD, which is just one of several. I don't know. I think it's the best one, but I'm biased. And certainly you guys might take it in a different direction and still get a lot of value out of this. So just wanted to let you know that. I also have I prepared a note link. I had to figure out how to share it. Let me add this to some resources that I think will be relevant, for today's book club. So now I just had to figure out how to do that. I am officially outside of Facebook, but let me try this. I'm going to comment right here. Resource links for today. Boom. Okay, so as I mentioned, some resources, you can save that to your Evernote account or go from there. Let me view. How do I do this? Sorry, I'm learning my new software. I'll get better by week 15, I promise. Okay, and let's see. So with that, let me just see if I'm missing anything. Today we're going to talk about chapter 1. My plan is that every Monday, I think at this time, I am going to do this, and I'm guessing it's going to last about today may go a little longer, but I'd like to keep it short and sweet, about half an hour, just kind of touch base, get some inspiration around the chapters, and keep you guys accountable for moving along with me through the book and improving all our productivity. As we go along, feel free to add your questions to the comments, and if I can't answer them live, I'll answer them after the fact and go from there. With that, I always learn something new from reviewing the book, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of get started and read some passages. You can see I've got all of my little flags here to kind of cover what it is that I want to cover, and let's see how this goes. So thanks for joining me, and let's begin. So we're on chapter 1, and I wanted to start with just the words that he's got. So this is a new practice for a new reality, which is absolutely some truth that I can resonate with. And even on page 4 in the second line, he says, number 1, you have to capture all. So this is why Evernote is so powerful, because if you can digitize it, Evernote can hold it. And I love on page 5 in the headline where he says, work no longer has clear boundaries. A major factor in the mounting stress level is that actual nature of our jobs has changed much more dramatically and rapidly than have our training for and our ability to deal with work. And then if you skip ahead, now for many of us, there are no edges to most of our projects. So can you identify with that? How many of you out there get that? And one of the things that just screamed out to me when I'm reading this is that Evernote has repeatedly said that 70% of Evernote users use Evernote both for business and personal. And I think that's just a testament to how fluid business and personal is for us, and how powerful Evernote is in allowing us to have that flexibility between the two parts of our lives. Evernote is so flexible, and it's almost the downfall of it is a lot of you probably look at it and you think, oh my gosh, this is a blank slate. I don't know what to do with it. And the beauty of Evernote is that you can split up you can have a hard edge in Evernote where you have all your business in one place and all your personal in another, and use naming conventions to sort that out, or you can commingle it really easily. So that is, that's the power of it. It's really just an education process to understand that, but identifying that that's one of the advantages of Evernote is super helpful. And obviously David's pointing out that it's an issue that the majority of knowledge workers are experiencing today. And I can see in the comments that you guys, agree with that. And Stacy, I love your name and I love how you spell it. Perfect. Especially for those of us who are freelancers or work from home. Absolutely. I mean, I completely identify with that. I'm self-employed and everything just bleeds together. So when I read this, I knew Evernote could really help me to support that. And I thought that was really useful. Okay, the next section I want to focus on is on page 9, the second full paragraph down. His concept here is this isn't necessarily about Evernote, but it's about his system. And I wanted to make a point about my system with it. What you've probably discovered, at least at some level, is that a calendar, though important, can really effectively manage only a small portion of what you need to be aware of to feel on top of your world. And daily to-do lists and simplified priority coding have proven inadequate for dealing with the volume and variable nature of the average person's workload. So I completely agree with this. I think that those tools have failed us in the onslaught of information, and we have to develop kind of a tech pack of things and tools that support what the reality of today's world is. So for me, I don't do shiny objects and follow the next thing. I'm a big advocate of really deeply understanding the softwares that you choose. Nothing is going to be perfect. Nothing is. But you certainly can create a kind of a matrix of softwares that really support you. So I thought I'd talk about what mine are. I think you need to have a calendar. Calendars are what I classify using level 1 tasks. So I break up tasks into level 1, level 2, and level 3 in EverDone. And it follows kind of what David talks about in the book. So as we get into future chapters, I'll discuss this more. But calendar holds all my level 1 tasks. It has a date and a time. If it's on my calendar, solid gold. And then for level 2 and level 3, I think we all which are that they don't have a specific date and time, or they can be done whenever. And we need tools for those. And so you need to make solutions or selections around that. And there's an array of technical options. Evernote handles both level 2 and level 3 tasks for me. And as we go through the book, I'll discuss that much more. But certainly, I think that volume and variability are 2 key words that are realities in today's world, and Evernote handles both of those brilliantly. Volume, they make it simple and quick to process as well as collect. And then variability, again, for those of you who aren't totally fluent in Evernote, give me a digital file format, whether it's a picture, a web page, a file, text, handwriting, any of it, it can go in Evernote. So if you can digitize it, Evernote can handle the variety of it, which is a key issue. Okay, moving on. I just want to discuss, obviously in the book, he doesn't talk about in chapter 1, we're introducing and we're giving what the promise of GTD is. And I think it's really important to discuss why we're going through this. And the terms clear mental state is really the promise encapsulated into 3 words for me. I'm on page 11. So the clear mental space that you can have from practicing this, I've experienced firsthand. When I apply and am a habitual in my GTD, this is the outcome. And so this is why I'm doing this. It becomes a passion of mine because it is so effective. What he is saying, and this is our David Allen motivation for the day, it is possible. There is a way to get a grip on it all, stay relaxed, and get meaningful things done with minimal effort across the whole spectrum of your life and work. You can experience what martial artists call a mind like water, and top athletes refer to as the zone within the complex world of which you're engaged. In fact, you have probably been feeling this state from time to time. And he's absolutely right. And I just wanted to make sure mind like water is something that comes up a lot. So I wanted to make sure we defined that in chapter 1. And this is the first time he introduces it. And on page 12, he talks about the mind like water simile. He says, in karate, there's an image that used to define the position of a perfect readiness, mind like water. Imagine throwing a pebble into a still pond. How does the water respond? The answer is totally appropriately to the force and mass of the input. Then it returns to calm. It doesn't overreact or underreact. So let me know in the comments, have you ever underreacted or overreacted to something that's come up in your life? And wouldn't it be lovely to be able to kind of react appropriately? That's an outcome that I think we don't really think about on a day-to-day basis, but the actual benefit of what we have when we deploy getting things done. So he has a little sub-quote that says, your ability to generate power is directly proportional to your ability to relax. So think about isn't that a wonderful thought? I absolutely love that. The more I relax, the more powerful I am. I mean, wow, I certainly want that. So he's hooking me again on his book here. I love it. So that I thought was important to discuss, mind like water. And I guess I'm actually curious, how often, give me a percentage. What percentage of your life, because let's just talk about life where business and personal interact, would you say you operate in a mind like water state? Where are we on that spectrum? I haven't even thought about what the answer is for me, but take a guess and put it in the comments. I'd like to know kind of where the group is. I mean, I'd say it's definitely improved for me since I've been practicing this, which has been since 2012. So absolutely, I am doing it more and more through Evernote and having it more often. I don't know if anybody's there. Kind of lost my activity. I hope you guys are there. If somebody can comment, that would be great. Looks like we're still live. Okay. Surprisingly, I'd say, gosh, Dawn, I love that. Okay. So that's really good. There may be a little delay on here too. So, okay, good. Well, I'm glad to see we're on the top side of 50% because I do think that's what the promise is of the book. Miriam, you're in the right spot. I promise you, you're going to get there. So, we've got a good support group, and especially in the EverDone community, we can help you with those exact details as well. But this is the promise. This is the promise. And this is kind of why we're doing it. And it works. And I'm glad to see that people in this here can confirm that you're working in that capacity, in that peak state for, a majority of your life. So still a good thing. Thank you for letting me know you're still there. It's nice to know. This is it's kind of a one-way channel, but I do get some feedback. Okay, let's move on to, okay, I love this. I'm going to move on to page 14, the basic requirements for managing commitments. All right. Managing commitments well requires the implementation of some basic activities and behaviors. First of all, if it's on your mind is not clear. So this is one of the things I've really gotten better at. This was a skill. This isn't a tool thing. It's a skill, which is getting in the habit of taking it off my mind and logging it anytime I think about it. And he says, anything you consider unfinished in any way must be captured in a trusted system outside your mind, or what I call a collection tool. Anything you know will come back to regularly, and this is very important, so I'm going to say it clearly. A collection tool that you'll come back to regularly and sort through. Okay. So here's the issue that I see that kind of prompted this book club. This, he sold maybe 2 million copies of this book. And you read this book and you buy into the philosophy. And then you have this next problem. What system or tool am I going to use to deploy getting things done? And in the link that I put at the top of this, I put a link to Vital Smarts, which is the authorized GTD training company in the United States. I found this PDF that talks about all the tools, or the top tools that you can have to the top tools that you can use to deploy GTD. There's a lot of options. So I'm here, and this book club is going to focus on why Evernote is a good option, and Evernote's in that list, obviously. But it doesn't have to be your selected tool. It can just be a very powerful one. So I wanted to bring that up because you do have to make a tool choice. And maybe by the end of this book club, you'll agree with me that Evernote's the right choice. So I wanted to just bring up that guide and know that you have that roster, because it's a really good list to show what all the tools are, and that it's a basic requirement. It's like number one, you have to pick a tool. Okay. So that's really important. The rest of it, he kind of goes through, we'll get into in later chapters. And I wanted to, again, return to page 16, where he's talking about what the answer is. He flat out says the answer to creating this mind like water and having this clarity is not getting organized or setting priorities. The answer is thinking. Okay. So he says this in the book many times, and he hasn't quite said it yet, but your mind is a wonderful place to have ideas and a terrible place to hold them. So you have to have a system outside your mind that you trust, that will hold those ideas so that you can think. Because people think a lot, but most of that thinking is of a problem, project, or situation, not about it. So when you can be thinking about your problems, you're using your mind to your highest and best capacity. And that's the value in having a trusted system. And that's the value that my Evernote GTD or my EverDone system provides for me. So allows me to think. Now, this is another great part. And Lee, let's look at that. I use an app called Brain Toss, which can send directly to your Evernote inbox. Interesting. Yeah, I've heard of Brain Toss. I'll have to look into that a little bit more, but please share your thoughts and your tools that you use in the comments so that the other members and people on the call have an option for it. So it's great. And then Stacy, quick capture is an essential component of GTD, but I have trouble using Evernote for quick capture. Okay. So that could be a lot of things. Quick capture for me works really, really well with Evernote. It could be I'll address a couple of things actually with that. One of them is I would look at the age of your tools. I was having a really hard time on my mobile device recently, my iPhone. It was an iPhone 6, and I was really struggling with quick capture. And I went and bought a new phone, and my problems are solved. Now, I know that's highly troubling for a lot of people. It's like, I don't want to go spend $1,000 if you're buying an iPhone to fix my problem. But what I realized is it's just too important. Every couple of years I have to invest in my technology. And I'm not saying that's what your problem is. I just bring it up because I know a lot of people who struggle with that. And you have to keep current on your stuff. The other thing is it could be some of your settings that are on your Evernote account, which is really about Evernote skills versus workflow, but certainly something to look at. Evernote is a very fast application generally. And if it's slow, there's something to look into, which goes outside the scope of here, but those are just some thoughts that I'd like to bring up about it. There are some other things that might be contingent upon how you're using GTD and Evernote. Dawn brings up a great point in her comment there. She uses AnyDo to directly toss stuff into Evernote. She finds that faster than launching Evernote and logging from a mobile device. Now, I tend to be on my computer, so I find that it's very responsive and very quick for me to work from the desktop app, but my day-to-day workflow is different in terms of the activities I'm doing. So that could be part of it as well, whether you're doing it from a mobile or from the computer. And actually, for the EverDone customers, as part of the internal community that we have in that product, Dawn and I are going to be talking about some of those variances in an upcoming Facebook Live for that community. So certainly there could be bits and pieces of it in all three of those that could be contributing to the speed, and maybe some tweaks need to be made in one or more of those areas. So, okay, let's talk about chapter 1, page 17. Why things are on your mind. Okay, I love this. Most often, the reason something's on your mind is that you want it to be different than it currently is. And yet, okay, number 1, you haven't clarified exactly what the intended outcome is. But if I read between the lines, I call this, you haven't taken notes about it. You haven't brain dumped about it. You haven't gotten it out of your mind and logged your thoughts. This is a note-taking function. Obviously, Evernote's a strong note-taking app, okay? 2, you haven't decided what the very next physical action step is, okay? So again, this is more thinking, note-taking, and list making. Again, Evernote's really strong in all of these, okay? This can be about task management, which I do 100% of my task management inside of Evernote. I show how I do that in EverDone, but all of it's done with inside Evernote. Number 3, you haven't put reminders on the outcome of the action required in a system you trust. So this is about project management, and I use Evernote for project management. So what I find is the strength in Evernote is these are 3 very different types of activities, but I can do all of them in one piece of software. I can note take, I can task and list manage, and I can project manage all inside one piece of software, which is the reason I really love it. And if you're not using Evernote, you got to find softwares that support these things based on your workflow. Okay, and then he makes the point too, in the end of page 17, that you have to park a reminder in a place your brain knows you will without fail look. And because Evernote is ubiquitous, it's on the cloud, it's on iPhone, Android, Mac, and PC, certainly it's everywhere, and that's one of its strengths. So supporting wherever you are, you have access to Evernote. Okay, getting close to the end for this particular one. How are we doing on time? Not too bad. Okay, let's look at page 19. Okay, I love this. In the little call out, he says, we need to transform all the stuff, in quotes, we've attracted and accumulated into a clear inventory of meaningful actions, projects, and usable information. So this supports one of the ideas that I often talk about with Evernote, that Evernote's actually my digital workspace. It's my digital desk. I've got it as a capture and I'm putting all of this stuff into it. And then I have the ability through the interface, particularly in the desktop application. If you haven't downloaded my free AHA tutorial, that's one of the steps that's in there. The link is in the hyperlinks that I shared with you at the beginning of this session. That will go through kind of what the value is in that. And it's literally a workspace. It's where I can sort information around. It's where I can clarify. It's where I can do exactly what he's saying here. I can take that stuff and turn it into a clear inventory of meaningful actions, projects, and usable information. And I can do it all in one app. So again, another reason why Evernote is a brilliant GTD tool. Okay, let's move on to the last section here of what I've got, I think. Let's see, a couple more pages. Okay, what I think happens for a lot of people is what's occurring on page 20, what he discusses in page 20. Managing action is the prime challenge. So the real work, he says, is to manage our actions. So I think people go a little astray with Evernote because they start realizing it's a brilliant capture device. Okay, a lot of ways it's easy to capture and collect, and then they get a little lost in how to convert that into actions and to work in this desktop workspace. And so one of the things that I advocate is you have to learn about the tool that you choose. And because it's such a great capture tool and then can be that digital workspace for you, I think it's very, very important to invest in learning Evernote software skills. And then understanding not only how Evernote works and how you move data around and how you create notes and notebooks, etc., but then what is the structure that you will have in place to actually work and deploy that. And that's, that's the mission of Harman Enterprises, is to help people who want our assistance with that move along on that spectrum. But there's lots of ways that you can do that. I mean, I self-learned. It just took me years and years, right? That is, though, my take on it. And what Evernote has the capacity to do for those who learn the nuances of it is it has the capacity to let you focus on managing your actions. So the skill is understanding how to break down those projects into next actions and then pair that with Evernote skills and how to move that data around and find and organize it within Evernote. And when you become fluent in that, you can do what I've done, which is I haven't had to change my structure in 6 years. And I have 26,000 notes in Evernote, and I can find what I need when I need it. Okay. So he also makes the point in page 21, the real problem is lack of clarity and definition about what the project really is. Again, by collecting everything in one central spot, being Evernote, you have a better chance at actually taking a holistic look at everything and doing some planning, and Evernote can support all of that. We'll talk about that more as we go through the other chapters. Okay, and then you could see EN with an exclamation point here on page 23. You need a good system that can keep track of as many of them as possible. Supply required information about them on demand, and allow you to shift your focus from one thing to the next quickly and easily. He's talking about the ability to look at things horizontally and have horizontal control. This is where Evernote shines. I mean, this is the first time I'm talking about search, but when you want to find something in Evernote, generally you can. In fact, almost all the time I can. You might have to up your skill level on all of the nuances about how to search, but Evernote is built for search. It's built for it. So simply putting in a word in the search bar is likely to bring up what it is that you want. And Evernote indexes everything. At the premium level, it indexes the interior contents of the documents that you put into it. And even at the free level, it's indexing images. So if you take a picture of your handwriting, and it can read your handwriting, that's the caveat, it will retrieve that information. If you take a picture of a book cover, if I took a picture of this book cover and then I did a search for stress-free, it would find it and it would bring it up. Okay. So this is where Evernote is very, very valuable. And it also allows you to switch from one thing to the next because everything's in the same spot and it works on all your devices. And then he also makes the part about vertical control. This is project planning in a broad sense. It's focusing on a single endeavor, fleshing out whatever ideas, details, priorities, and sequences of events might be required for you to handle it, at least for the moment. So I use Evernote as a project manager, and certainly it can handle that. I don't need to switch applications. I have all my supporting resources right there. So I'm able to do what he discusses on page 22 and 23, which is horizontal and vertical action management, all within one piece of software. Okay. Let's talk about this last section that he's got, and then I'll review your questions in the comments, and we'll conclude for this week and plan for next week. So he ends with a section called The Major Challenge, Getting It All Out of Your Head. Okay. I love what he says here because I think I am finally at the point where I do this as well. And when I first read this, I certainly wasn't. And it's a process and it's a habit that you just practice. He says the big difference between what I do and what others do is that I capture and organize 100% of my stuff in and with objective tools at hand, not in my mind. So you got to have the tool. And that applies to everything, little or big, personal or professional, urgent or not, everything. And what I have found is that Evernote can hold everything. I use Evernote for everything. So when he talks about the big difference between what he does and what others do is that he captures and organizes 100% of his stuff in a system. That's what I've created with Evernote, and that's why I'm having success with it. So a very, very valuable endorsement for a system that will allow you to capture everything. And then he just making some points, and this isn't necessarily about Evernote, this is about the value of GTD, is that he doesn't want to waste time thinking about things more than once. That's inefficient. It's an inefficient use of creative energy and source of frustration and stress. He says there's no reason to ever have to have the same thought twice unless you like having that thought. Okay, so get it off your mind. Put it into Evernote. In my world, I use a Minesweep note to capture that very quickly. I also, Dawn's provided a brilliant solution called using a third-party app called AnyDo, which integrates with Evernote and sends it directly to Evernote. And I think we had another one earlier on in here, Brain something. So lots of ways and integrations that will make that centralization of these ideas that just pop into your head, even when you're trying to sleep. I keep my phone by my bed and I'll just log it really quick. I mean, Siri can even talk to Evernote and create a note now. So lots of ways to get things into Evernote and benefit from this practice that he's talking about, which is getting it off your mind and into a system. Okay. And he brings science. He brings science to it on page 25, studies, and this is new in the new version of his book, is now there's been lots and lots of, science behind these concepts that he presented in the first version of the book. Studies have demonstrated that our mental processes are hampered by the burden put on the mind to keep track of things we're committed to finish without a trusted plan or system in place to handle them. Once again, trusted. For me, that's Evernote. Plan or system, that's Evernote. And it's in place. I list my solution in EverDone, and it allows me to handle it. I work my system all the time. Okay. So that's chapter 1. Stacy, I'm so glad that you think that this is a good value. It brings GTD to life. I love it. I hope you can tell. I mean, it's just like, I could talk about this stuff all day. Let me look through the comments. That's his introductory chapter. What I'm going to do is next week, I will do chapter 2. And chapter 2 is getting control of your life, the 5 steps of mastering workflow. So we'll discuss those at a higher level. And I'm just going to go week by week through this. So let me look at your comments and make sure that I've covered everything. I appreciate you all joining who did. And then before I go through the comments, just a reminder that if you're interested in my system, it's called EverDone, and I walk you through specifically how to deploy GTD the way I do GTD in Evernote. I've actually shown my system to David Allen prior to them having a GTD, prior to having their own, like, they have like a little GTD, for Evernote book, but it does not cover the detail that I go through. But I do think that the conversation I had with David Allen influenced that, because they were just looking at doing it at the time. So it's a notebook based approach as opposed to a tag approach, which you find in, the most popular one is the secret weapon out there, which is tag approach, and mine's completely opposite to that. So anyhow, that you can find out more about that in the resource link that I provided earlier, which is right there. So the overlay's been added. Let me go through the questions. And if you have to head off, I look forward to seeing you next week. Got the link. Okay. Got the link and added it to my Evernote account. Good job, Rob. That's exactly what you should do. And really great, because Evernote obviously lets you share information with that. Okay. So FYI, even when things are super busy and I feel I'm falling apart, the 2-minute rule and writing everything down is always in play. Absolutely. I'm sure we'll get to the 2-minute rule in a minute, in a couple of chapters, I'm sure. I don't know where exactly it comes up, but Evernote's amazing for that. Okay, Stacy, I covered that. Brain toss, which can send stuff directly to your Evernote inbox. So Lee, I assume I'll look into that a little bit more. I'm curious about that. If it's, you use that as a quick capture opportunity, it sounds like. So love that. OmniFocus is my to-do list tool, but Evernote I use for my filing. Okay, Kevin, I think that's I've heard that before. I know some people love OmniFocus. The challenge for many people is it's Mac only. So Evernote offers the ability to have cross platforms, but for those of you who really like a structure and kind of rolling tasks, etc., OmniFocus is a great solution. And I think that it's also a good hybrid with Evernote. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's a really good opportunity. Mobile is the issue, Stacy. Okay, so yeah, Stacy Morris is saying that it's that, and it may be as simple and money getting a new iPhone. I hate that has to be the solution. But there's lots of people we can blame. I've said this before, we could blame iPhones for slowing down everything. We could blame Evernote for not supporting as heavily iPhone 6 as they do the 10, or the 8. But, this is what I've decided as part of this virtual world and this flexible location independent lifestyle that I live, that Evernote supports. It's like the analogy that I've said before is, we all hate the restrictions at airports. And I could be really mad and keep trying to bring my water bottle filled with water through TSA. I'm not getting through. I can fight it, or I can just not bring my water in and buy my water on the other side, and I'll make it to the airplane, which takes me off to my next wonderful, glorious adventure. So I tend to take the tact of not fighting it, biting the bullet, and things smoothly move along when I make that investment. And then I have to constantly remind myself that I need to make these large technology investments. It is my business, and I have to do it every couple of years. So that is the tact that I tend to take. And I'm sure you'll hear me say it again, but I understand that it's a cost. I consider it and chalk it up to a cost of doing business. Okay, can you please talk about how you digitize paper? For example, using an Evernote-friendly ScanSnap scanner. Sure. So I digitize my paper. I'm Mac-centric, but the Evernote app on both iPhone and Android has a brilliant camera right in it. Okay, so that's one option. I use on the iPhone a third-party app called Scannable that Evernote owns and develops. It's iOS only, and I could use the Evernote camera, but Scannable is one click less. It also lets me send outside of Evernote instead of just sending to Evernote. So I talk about that a lot in my course, Radical Productivity with Evernote, where I teach all the Evernote skills and applications. But that's what I use mobilely, and I'm shocked at how much of my paper is really just Evernote is taken care of by the mobile scanning. They're so powerful these days. It's just incredible. I also have an Evernote ScanSnap, which is no longer available. Mine still works, but you can't buy them anymore. You can, however, buy the Fujitsu IX500, which is the same hardware and is a brilliant scanner. It is a $400 tool. But if you're serious about digitizing and having a lovely form factor that doesn't take up a lot of space, and you have a lot of paper or back stuff that you want to scan, that's the tool that I recommend. Although there's brilliant scanners. I like the Fujitsu line. You don't have to get the $400 one, but really, if you're looking to make the right investment, I never ever hear people complain about it. So that's my 2 cents on digitizing. Let's see. I use Scannable. Okay, Barry. Yeah, Scannable's amazing. I'm glad you all, thank you for the comments. I'm glad you guys like the book club. I'm loving it too. This is so fun for me. Haley, I'm currently reading GTD. I'm on page, oh good. So you can move along with us. I'm on page 120, so a little further ahead, but yeah, this is great. Thank you all so much for joining. I mean, this is excellent. So, better late than never. Okay, and then it does record this, so it'll be available on the page. I might upload it to YouTube as well. And please share with your friends. Obviously, this is a free offering that I'm trying to bring together those of us who are interested in this kind of stuff. As you can tell, it kind of fires me up. And I feel free to spread the word. I'll have it weekly. And that lasted about 40 minutes. So my goal will be in the future to keep it to about 30 per session. And we'll just have for those of us in the central time zone, we'll have a little lunch break, and the rest of the world, you can join us at that time. And I thank you for being here. I will read chapter 2. Your homework's to read chapter 2. And this will be the format we have going forward. Feel free to comment additionally here if you have other thoughts or questions. And we'll resume our book club next week. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.